This is the one thing that I've noticed now. I don't know if 5 years ago Barry Bonds goes on to that set. I don't know if Barry Bonds sits down and does television packages for Fox Sports in honor of Willie Mays like he did last night, talking about the great Willie Mays, talking about how he was his godfather, share some stories there before the game. Major League Baseball finally embracing Barry Bonds warmed my heart last night. To see Barry on the camera, see him taking pictures next to Rob Manfred, to see him out there at Rickwood Field, Barry Bonds is one of our great players in this game. He should be honored as so. We know what's been tainted with the whole steroid usage in the steroid era and whatnot, but Barry Bonds, if you take away the supposedly steroid years, he's still a Hall of Famer. Levitar did his little post about that a couple weeks ago. The guy had over 400 home runs and over 300 steals before the year 2000.
I don't even care. A-Rod and David Ortiz are on the panel, and we love those guys.
Exactly.
Those guys were users of the same thing. Like, so I don't want to hear any of that crap.
Yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter is, and I get it, he was a prickly character. He obviously, the way his dad was treated by the media and stuff like that, he didn't take a kind liking to talking to reporters and the fans and all that sort of stuff. That wasn't him. And you know what? I think Charles Barkley said it best back in the 90s, because I was only a kid, but just listening back, he's like, hey, I'm not a role model, all right? I'm not trying to be a role model for all these kids and stuff like that. But it brought it home even more when guys like Barry, who obviously Willie Mays being his godfather, like, speaking of him being like a second father to him.
Yeah.
And that's what a godfather obviously should be, or a godmother and stuff like that, a second parent to you. You know, you hear that often, but Willie was like that to not just Barry, but to guys like Ken Griffey Jr., who Griffey Jr. called the godfather of center fielders, right? Yep. So it was just that panel in and of itself, Bonta, Jeter, Ortiz, Griffey, Bonds, A-Rod.
The panel was unbelievable. The panel was unbelievable. Barry couldn't hear. He's like, what was that? He didn't have an earpiece in, but him telling stories. And, you know, they asked, David Ortiz asked about Willie Mays, and he goes, not right now. Not right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Yeah. I'm living. I can't do it right now. I'm not ready for that. And Barry was right, but here's Barry when they asked him about Satchel Paige.
So good.
We'll start it off with this. What would happen if he faced Satchel Paige? Here's Barry Bonds.
Tell me right now, on the spot, what would you do against Satchel Paige?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Gone. You done lost your mind, Jeter. Gone. Simple. Gone. Read about it on ESPN, Fox News, whatever else you want to talk about. You got to believe in yourself. If I don't believe in me, who going to believe in me?
That's right.
I'm a drag button. Derek, I'm drag button.
I'm going to take all those people off the field.
We're going to race you first.
Gone. Me and you, brother.
So that was just Barry Bonds' personality.
Is he wrong?
Maybe not wrong, but Barry Bonds' the confidence and the cockiness, which made us all love Barry Bonds. When he stepped in that box, he did believe he was the best player out there. If more times than not, he was the best player out there. But to see baseball post about Barry Bonds, to see them embrace Barry Bonds, maybe one day it's not too late. Maybe one day we can't get him into the Hall of Fame at some point in Cooperstown. He needs to have that moment. He deserves to have that moment. But to see baseball finally embrace Barry and Barry give back in a way and endear himself to a national audience really warmed my heart. That was the first part of it. I was like, wow. And we haven't even got to the best of it yet. But that was early out in the pregame show. And I was like, wow, look at this setting. There's Bonds, Griffey, Ortiz, Jeter, and freaking Alex Rodriguez, Spadoni.
And it's not like it needed any like legitimization from like a guy like Barry Bonds. Like this was special in and of itself, just the location and the history. But Barry Bonds, in a way, him being there did kind of make this like, oh, it took it to another level.
Right.
Because he is, in my eyes, and I never saw Willie Mays. I saw Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player I think all three of us, and Sam Lubman included, have ever seen in our lives.
Yeah.
Like just top to bottom, like I don't care what you say about the roids, anything. I don't care anything about it. He is the greatest baseball player I have ever seen.
Spadoni, I was watching him as a young Pittsburgh Pirate. And the threat he was as a young Pittsburgh Pirate when he went 3 in a row for most valuable player in the early 90s. Are you kidding me?
So when guys like that, you know, guys like Tom Brady, guys like Joe Montana, Michael Jordan.
Right.
Like Michael Jordan's the guy, like we don't see any interviews with him. Like we saw the doc, right? But he stays out of the public eye. Yeah. He doesn't want to be like, I kind of liken him to that a little bit. But when those guys speak, it just holds so much more weight. So just to see his personality shine too, like Barry loves him some Barry. And why not? I love that confidence that he had and he showed, and you got Ken Griffey right there. He's like, I would have dragged bunt.
I would have dragged bunt. I would have raced to the first base.
Dude, I would have raced to
the first base. The stories about Satchel Paige are endless. The story, he pitched in the Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. He pitched in Major League Baseball as a 59-year-old. He threw 3 shutout innings.
The Kansas City A's signed him as a joke in a promotion, and he didn't know it was a joke, and he went out there and threw 3 shutout innings. Like that.
It was like, yeah, joke's on you.
Yes.
Joke's on you. And then Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, joined the pregame show. And we'll get to some NBA as we say good morning to everybody out there. Shout out to YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, brought to you by First NorCal Credit Union. For a low-rate auto loan, apply online or just ask for First NorCal financing at the dealer, as well as the Xfinity mobile text line. Then we get to Reggie Jackson. And Reggie Jackson got up there. Of course, he played at Rickwood Field before. Long-time Oakland A / Kansas City A. He grew up during the time where you couldn't go to the same restaurant as white folks. You couldn't use the same bathroom as white folks. And he'll touch on that. But first, Reggie Jackson, on what Willie Mays meant to him.
I think Willie Mays meant to me the same thing that he meant to most people. He was a Baryshnikov on the baseball field. As far as being given the most skills, you've got Babe Ruth, you've got Hank Aaron, you've got Lou Gehrig, you've got Barry Bonds, you've got Alex Rodriguez. These guys that were gifted all of these skills, but the guy that got the most skills, I believe, of anyone, run, throw, hit with power, defense, as well as baseball instincts. He had 6 rather than 5. Was really a special player. I think that he had a lot of things to say about the game, but at the time when Willie was playing, Hank Aaron was playing, the Willie McCoveys were playing, the Bob Gibsons were playing, they grew up in an era when you had to complain about the game or complain about society, you suppressed it. Today's player doesn't do that.
So that's Reggie on Willie Mays. And all the stories about Willie Mays yesterday, you hear from everybody. He really was that guy. He really was that dude. He really was the perfect baseball player. And in honoring Willie Mays last night, I mean, we have never even seen him play, but it's all across the board consensus. Willie Mays is the greatest.
It's like he was these guys' generation's Babe Ruth. Like, so for Willie Mays, it was Joe DiMaggio and Babe Ruth, right? But for everyone else after that, after Willie played, it's Willie Mays. For Pete Rose, he played with him, but it was still, that's Willie the greatest Mays. Player I played. It was him or Hank Aaron, right? Like that, those are the 2 guys, and that's like 2 of the greatest, maybe the greatest players in the history of the sport. And when a guy like Mr. October, again, one of the greatest players of all time, when he says it, when Ken Griffey, like it's so special too, because of what he meant with his skin color to them too. Yep. Like that's a huge part of this. And I think far too often we're just afraid to bring that thing up because of, I want to get, it's not political. It's just facts. Like, it's just what he represents to the black community and to the African-American community cannot be understated. You have to bring that up in this conversation. And all the black players that came out yesterday in support of this entire thing. And yes, there were some tears, there was some sadness, but also hope. That's what I got from it. Like, this is such a down period for African-American men playing the sport of baseball. I don't even know what the percentage is. It's so damn low. It's not good. It's low. And I know, and I was listening to Willard and Dibbs talk about the Lamont Wade Jr. thing and him not getting the special exemption. Mm-hmm. I don't know who you want to blame there. You can blame the Giants for just not activating him. You can blame the league for not giving it, like, whatever. The fact that he was there, though, in uniform, that was cool to see. Special. Like, that's all I kind of wanted. Like, that's... Like, I thought when they were talking about it, is he not even going to be allowed to be there? But he was there in uniform. That was cool. But for guys like Lamont Wade, right? Like
setting up the next to Bill Greason, the 99-year-old who played with Willie Mays.
Oh, my God. Talk about an incredible life, by the way.
And a mentor to Willie Mays when they played with the Birmingham Black Barons. Willie was special. And during that time where, not only did Jackie Robinson break the color barrier and Larry Doby in the American League, and then Willie Mays comes in a few years later, but not only did you have to go to Major League Baseball to perform, you had to perform at a high level, or you weren't getting a second chance. And you had to prove yourself. A lot of people didn't think, these Negro League players, they can't hack it in the big leagues. They had to not only go perform, but they had to perform at a high level to keep their job. And that's what they did. They exceeded. and became some of the best players in the world. So, kudos to these guys for breaking down the barriers. But boy, I got to play Reggie Jackson before we hit the break. Dave Fleming's going to join us at 6:30. He's going to join us a little earlier. He was at Rickwood Field. Can't wait to get his perspective. Reggie Jackson. And this is Spadoni. Shortly after this message, I started bawling in my living room by myself. I couldn't help it. I don't know if it was appropriate or what, but Reggie Jackson said what he said, and then you get the performance by John Batiste in the pregame festivities, and I just broke down, man. I just broke down when I saw all those Negro League players on each foul line. They're showing each of their faces, and they're showing the baseball card, and you're thinking, damn, how the hell can I complain during my everyday life about anything with what these gentlemen had to go through just to play the game of baseball? And playing the game of baseball was their outlet to get away from what was happening in the real world. And then Reggie Jackson said what he said on Fox pregame show. And folks, this is the realest and most authentic live television spot during a sporting program I think I've ever seen in my life. Reggie Jackson did not hold back on what it was like playing baseball back in those days.
Coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here in Concord? I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they say that can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass, and you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
I didn't expect it when Reggie got asked that question by Alex Rodriguez. And you could just tell right away when Reggie said, it's not easy being here. Because of all the memories that he had to replay in his head before he became an Oakland A, before he became a New York Yankee or a California Angel or whatever, before he hit the 3 home runs in a World Series game, the fact that he had to relive all those moments in his head, and he told it like it is. And I don't know if Fox is ready for it, but I'm sure glad Fox let him roll. And I'm so glad the nation got to hear that from Reggie Jackson about what he went through, about what his teammates went through, black teammates, what some of these Negro League players went through, to not be able to eat at a restaurant because you look a certain way. That was just 70 plus years ago. That wasn't that long ago, folks. There's people still on this earth, roaming this earth, who have gone through those times. And to hear that uncut in realness and authenticity I let go of the tears, man, because I thought about it, saying I would have never survived during those times, Spadoni. When he said I would have been hanging from an oak tree because if it wasn't for my white teammates, I would have been a very violent young man. I would have beat somebody's ass, is what he said. And I felt every second of that. Every second of that. Wow, we're not going to play that enough today.
No,
we're not going to play it enough.
We'll play that more, too, and I know we got Dave Fleming.